Greetings and welcome to the Transform Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Anastasio. It is Thursday, October 6th, 2022, and this is episode 92 as we close in closer and closer to the big century mark here on the podcast. So we're really excited about that. Super excited to see the podcast grow like this since we first launched about a year ago, on I think it was mid-October 2021 actually. So we're very close to the 1 year anniversary of this platform for us, and very excited and grateful for you guys coming along for the ride. So I wanted to get that out of the way, guys, as we close in here on the weekend and kind of dive into episode 92 here in a moment. But I did want to, as we customarily do, kind of give a nod to episode 91, which published last week. It was actually the only episode we published last week. And we did one a week for the last 2 weeks. So episode 90 came out on September 23rd, and then episode 91 came out on September 27th, just to keep things sort of like aligned in terms of, we always start with an even number if we have two, but if we don't do two, then I do one per week kind of a thing. So we kept that pace, and in episode 91, if you guys are interested, episode 91 kind of focused on, at a somewhat granular level, systematizing content production. So if I recall correctly, it was several days ago, but if I recall correctly, I actually took you guys through a specific example of how you can produce a piece of content and then just run it through a system that you've pre-decided, and literally down to like the order of platforms that you post on, or that you contextualize for, and then it spits out the back end, these modified pieces of content that are contextualized to each platform. So it's like, kind of starting off with like, hey, if you post a tweet, or let's say you screenshot something, you post it as a tweet, then you can screenshot the tweet, you take that, you put it on Instagram stories, then you take it from Instagram stories, you put it to TikTok, so on and so forth. So it just really kind of walks you guys through that. And really, and also, apologize if you guys are picking up any background noise here outside the studio. But, that's really what episode 91 deals with. And I think if you guys are kind of like in that zone of, hey, I hear Transform, I hear Chris saying more content, but I just really don't know how to start, or I really don't know how to set it up so that it's a repeatable process that I don't have to think about and I don't have to put all kinds of brain cells to it. This is a great episode for you, so we definitely encourage you guys to check that out. Now, jumping into episode 92, or the content for today's episode, I wanted to talk to you guys about something a little bit sort of multi-dimensional. We don't always do this on the podcast, so usually we're sort of focused on a narrow topic area, but once in a while we'll go a little bit more macro, in terms of even beyond marketing. And today I want to kind of incorporate, at least here in the United States, I gotta say, the drumbeat about a possible recession is growing. Okay, possible, like maybe pretty significant one. We haven't had a significant one here since 2007, 8, 9 time frame, or the Great Recession as it was called. And we've had, a long period of, kind of upward growth and or stability. And so, different economic signals, from inflation to the housing market to all kinds of things, are starting to point towards things possibly tipping over drastically, okay? Now, the reason I'm saying that, you guys are like, well, why am I hearing Chris talk about that? I mean, this is a marketing show, right? The reason is, and this is the other data point I want to sort of weave into that, is I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before, definitely this week, came across a piece of content that I sort of earmarked for consumption from Gary Vee about, it had like a headline on it, or it was in the thumbnail, I can't remember exactly, but it basically said something to the effect of sales, this is quote, sales is just bad marketing, unquote. Okay, so I'll let that sink in for you guys for a second. Sales is just bad marketing. And, I saw that and I was like, that's a catchy phrase. I definitely see why he's saying that. Definitely doesn't surprise me that Gary would say something like that. Gary himself calls himself a bad salesman. He considers himself a very bad salesman, but a great marketer, right? So wasn't too surprised to see that piece of content come out, but it got me thinking a little bit. When you connect that to the first point I made, that again, at least here in the States, we're staring down the barrel of what could be a cold economic winter, okay? And who knows how long it'll last. And I firmly believe that in that kind of environment, if you are relying on sales tactics, if you are a salesman for your business, not so much a marketer, maybe you're even ignoring marketing, and you're just focused on selling, you're cold calling, you're twisting arms, you're only running conversion ads, whatever form or format that you're doing that, you're about to get exposed. Like you are about to get pretty badly exposed during what's probably around the corner here economically. On the flip side, if you have invested in your marketing, if you have endeavored to brand your business, and that means lots of things. And I'm about to list a few. It may not mean every single one of these, but it probably means a lot of them, I would say at bare minimum. You've got your logo in place. You have a good slogan, taglines for your products, things like that. You're publishing lots of content. You're giving out lots of value. In other words, you're creating an attraction mechanism whereby you don't have to go out and hunt for clients and customers every day or every week or every month. But you have those things coming to you because your brand is so strong, it's so well formulated and established that it brings in customers. It draws in clients and customers. And so that really, that's the distinction I'm trying to make here, guys. And I think the reason I say that is, when you have good, strong economic times, there's plenty of cash in the system, people have cash in their pockets, people are in a spending mood. Converting them through traditional sales tactics, I'm not going to ever say that's easy. I'm never even going to say that's ever anywhere near being fun to do. It's easier. It's easier to separate people from their cash, from their money, when the backdrop is a positive, growing, vibrant, whatever you want to call it, whatever adjectives apply, economy. Okay, it's not as hard in that environment. You move into an environment where people see, let's say, their job may be in jeopardy, and or their retirement accounts, like IRAs, 401ks, those types of things that we have here in the United States, those things may be, plummeting or certainly shrinking. They see layoffs going on in their industry, and they don't know when it's going to affect them next. Maybe they're just flat out struggling to pay for basic things because of, we have very high inflation here in the United States. Maybe there's some other factors kind of playing in there as well. But maybe they're going to the gas pump to fill up their tanks, and they're seeing what used to cost $40 now costs $80. Or they're going to the grocery store and it used to cost $200, now it costs $400. Whatever the case might be per individual, converting that person with traditional sales tactics, the traditional psychologies, the traditional word salads, whatever you've got in your bag of tricks, it's not as effective. It's not going to work as well. Sales are going to decline. Revenue is going to decrease. Profits are going to decrease. Your business is going to stop growing. Your business is going to start shrinking. On the flip side, if you are committed to branding your business, to literally act like you don't have to sell anything to anybody. So in other words, it's not just that you're branding and marketing, it's that you are not selling. That's kind of a key point. I didn't really make that point before. It's not just that you're doing marketing and branding. It's like, hey, I've subtracted those sales tactics. I'm not even using stuff like that anymore. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're doing a robust digital marketing campaign, you probably pay for some ads. You probably have some ads that are designed to send somebody down a funnel and potentially convert them. I'm not saying you don't do that. But first of all, that would be a much lower percentage of your effort, number one. Number two, you might not be able to afford that in a recession, so you have to almost account for that not being there if we really go down the tubes here a little bit in the US at least economically. And then lastly, you're certainly not using some of these heavier-handed tactics. You're not cold calling, you're not pounding away at somebody in an email campaign, constantly asking them to buy something. So yeah, maybe you got some conversion ads out there. Maybe you have an email drip campaign that, has 30 emails in it and emails 7, 14, and 29, ask somebody for the sale, but the other 27 emails don't do that. They just provide value. They just give somebody something for free and help that person accomplish what they might be trying to accomplish. So I think that's really the realm that you want to be playing in. If you're not doing any of that right now, honestly, like you're based in the States and you're not doing any of that right now, I'm not even sure you have enough time to turn it around. Okay, because what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing from a financial and economic perspective is pretty grim. And if you're here, you've heard the same thing. So you've got to get off the dime like right now. Okay. Now, if you are doing some of this stuff, I think you just go back and you audit it and you say, okay, how often am I publishing? Can I publish more often? Am I giving value? How much more value can I give? Is there something I'm kind of like dangling out there that could be valuable to people and I'm kind of making them go through a bunch of hoops to get it? Instead, I can just give it to them. I can, if there's an ebook out there, there's some free spreadsheets that kind of save them time, whatever the case might be, I'm going to retract those things from however I've currently deployed those assets, and now I'm just going to give them away. Now I'm just going to be like, hey, drop me an email, and I'm going to send you something. So, okay, you still capture an email address in the process, but that's it. There's no other hoops to jump through. There's nothing else that they need to do. Or, maybe you go a step further, just post it on your website. Like, hey guys, come over to the website, check it out. At least you get some eyeballs on the website that way. So there's all different tactics you can use to kind of, grease this a little bit, get some of this friction out, get more value quicker to the end user, end prospect, and get them into a know, like, and trust sequence faster. The faster you've got people knowing you, liking you, and trusting you, the better off you're going to be. And if you want to hear more about know, liking, and trusting, you can go to episodes 31 through 33. It's a series that I did back in late January, early February, 31, 32, 33. And you can listen all about how you move somebody through that sequence. How do you get them to know you, like get their attention? How do you get them to like you? Kind of like, hey, this is appealing stuff that you're putting out there. I like it. I like you for putting it out there. And then lastly, trusting you. Like actually trusting that when they have the problem, whether they have a problem 5 days after they met you online, 50 days after they met you, or 5,000 days after they met you, they are in a position to move on your offer. Because they've gotten to know you, you've kind of pulled them into your attraction mechanism, your brand, your marketing, etc. And now they're in that ecosystem whenever the time is right for them. And they say, you know what? I need what Chris is selling without selling it, right? Now I need what he's got. Now I'm going to engage him. I'm going to go to him and say, hey, how do I get in your program? How do I get in your course? How do I get your product? How do I get your service? How can we start? How can we make this engagement happen? Okay, guys, so I'm kind of beating the drum a little bit on this because I think, just surveying the landscape, a lot of people are behind on this. A lot of people aren't doing these things, obviously, and they need to catch up. And I really think, and Gary talks about this a lot too, he talks about if you haven't been able to launch a successful business or grow your business in the last, say, 14-ish years since the last recession, when all this growth was happening, all this money was in the system, you have no chance. You have no chance when it goes down the tubes. Okay? When this thing really goes bad, if you couldn't grow when everything was growing, how are you going to grow when nothing's growing, when everything's shrinking, when businesses are failing, when people are holding their money very tightly? Okay? So there's really only one way. To me, branding survives, marketing and branding survive recessions. Marketing and branding survive recessions. Selling dies. Selling dies during recessions. Okay? So I want to leave you guys with that thought, let that linger a little bit. If you guys need help with this, if you need ideas, if you need an audit, if you want to, like, hey, I'm at zero here, I need help, Chris, come to us, check us out on Facebook and LinkedIn at Transform, just type in Transform, and go to the website at transform.com. Of course, follow the podcast as we'd always suggest. But if you want to reach out to us, get us on those platforms, website, Facebook, LinkedIn. We would love to engage with you. We're going to audit your social media situation for free. So you're going to get something for nothing right off the bat. And if you take that and go do great things with it, great. If you want us to stick around and kind of help you with that, we would be more than happy to do that. Okay, guys? So think about it. Put it in the back of your minds, but not too far back. If you're at zero on this stuff, don't put it in the back of your mind. You need to act on it this moment. But if you have been doing some of this stuff, make a mental note here that you got to go back, you got to take a look at these things that you're doing in your business and make sure that you can, whether you can do more, where you can do more, how much more you can do, things like that, where you can maybe tweak some stuff so it's more effective in the what I think is the coming environment. Okay, guys, so thanks for listening to this as we head towards the weekend, guys. Super, super excited to wrap up another week. Can't believe we're down the slippery slope towards November here. It's kind of nuts. But anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Check us out. We will have another episode coming out this week by the weekend, so that will be episode 93, and we're excited for you guys to check that out as well, all right? Have a great night, guys. Bye-bye.